Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Mari from GSM, and I present you GSM Effects. I actually had to take down the Gorefest video. We are disputing it with BMG Music for using a very short clip of a very, very bad cover band covering Pink Floyd. And BMG wants to seek rights to the whole video and actually get paid for it. And I refuse to put a damn dime in their pockets for something like this because I know Gore and his buddies are all friends at BMG. So we're going to go ahead, throw some special effects in here, and mix it up a bit with the bands. So I hope you guys enjoy this replay, totally edited, special, just for BMG and Al Gore. Enjoy!
Welcome back to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Today is Monday, December 3rd, 2018. Happy Gorefest, everybody. I know you're excited. I am too. Old Al is at it again. And before we get started with tonight's program,
the North Pole melting in the dead of winter. The North Pole melting in the dead of winter. The North Pole melting in the dead of winter. Melting in the dead of winter. 3 years in a row. The hottest 4 years in history are the last 4 years, and this year will join them as being the 5 hottest years.
Lie.
This extreme weather and its consequences are coupled with other disturbing trends that are closely related to the crushing pressure imposed by global warming, a growing refugee crisis, which in turn has contributed to the wave of populist authoritarianism. So for the next 24 hours, we are going to focus particularly on what doctors and scientists are telling us in increasingly urgent warnings, namely that the climate crisis is also a global health crisis, with heat stress, more scarcity of fresh, clean water, the threat of crop failures and food insecurity, infectious tropical diseases, air pollution from the burning of fossil fuels exacerbating asthma.
Okay, so we get what that's all about, but guys, I want to show you some live. Alright, so that was an awesome beginning to the night with the first band at Gorefest hitting the stage. As you can see, some good looking young fellas here. Just a live look in at some of the bands playing at Gorefest. Okay, so enough of that. We'll get back to that here shortly. Just a little quick look, though. I wanted everyone to see what was happening at Gorefest. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We're excited about Gorefest, and we'll continue on with the show. Zoom that in. There's that sunspot right close to the 180 area, and that will be the next area we will be watching when it does come around the bend. So right now it looks like a very decent-sized active region, and it is above the equatorial region as well, which indicates it's still cycle 24. Taking a look at our TSI reading for November 24, 2018, we're sitting at a 1360.66. So we are looking at values dropping just ever so slightly. Not a lot, but as you can see to the graph here, they are dropping a little bit, not much. And before we go into RoySpencer.com, let's take another look at live coverage of Gorefest. I mean, did you guys check out his effects? Amazing. They got some really great bands playing at Gorefest, and we will check back in here just a little bit. I just can't get over how great these bands are here at Gorefest, guys. I'm really excited about this. All right, so we'll check back in with Al and his buddies here in a little bit. But over here at drroyspencer.com, we have a little article here written by Mr. Spencer himself. Can space.com teach us anything useful about the climate? And it says here, I saw a space.com article titled, Can Venus Teach Us to Take Climate Change Seriously? While Space.com writers should know quite a bit about the other planets, the article was a font of misinformation and gross exaggeration. I'll definitely be checking this one out. The obvious purpose of the article was scare us into taking increasing carbon dioxide levels seriously. Serially, as Al Gore would say. Serial, though. Following on the 4th National Climate Assessment, the NC4 report, which I'm still trying to digest, claims Mr. Spencer, after repeating the NC4 claim that 10% of the U.S. economy could evaporate by 2100 due to climate change. Its silliness begins as a nearby world has even hotter climate problem than ours, and scientists say we could learn some valuable lessons from it. The world is Venus, Earth's evil twin, which was once nice enough until something went wrong and the atmosphere began trapping a little too much heat. Well, I'd like to say that Venus is hot because it's right next to the damn sun, but, you know, that's just me. I'll leave the link in the description after the show is over. We didn't have time to throw the links in, but just very interesting little piece here. And of course, Dr. Spencer does a nice job of picking what was wrong with this article, indeed. But the main news on drroyspencer.com, congratulations to some of you out there who are good guessers. We had 2 people that came within one value, Mr. Rob with that 0.27 to the 0.30 range, so you technically got it. And of course, Mr. Starman on Twitter predicted, and also last night in our chat, that we would see a value of 0.29. And folks, it came in at a 0.28 degrees Celsius above baseline. Now, I know you're thinking, you're saying to yourself, well, I thought we were cooling. I thought this was global cooling. Well, again, I've said this many, many times about the grand solar minimum, about solar minimums, about climate. This is not anything that happens overnight. This is something that takes a little bit of time to develop. I've been watching this graph here since 2016, and I never thought that I'd see it decrease like this. I was scared that we would see another spike because everybody says, well, the trend says we're going up, 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 up. But here, if you guys take a look at this trend here in the last 13 years, you've seen the temperatures haven't moved that much, honestly. When you put that straight line across, we had a couple peaks, but other than that, we are seeing the decline once again to levels that are going to be lower than 0.28. And I have a hunch that as we continue to see 2018 go into 19, we will slowly make that climb, possibly by maybe March of 2019, we might be close to the zero, the baseline level, the way the temperatures have been moving. And let's find out what changed in November. Now, it only rose about 0.06, so that's not a huge increase. But once again, the winter that kept us a little warmer is once again the Arctic, but not as much as last month. Last month we saw heating of 1.11 degrees Celsius above baseline up there in the Arctic. This month it's only went up 0.69. So maybe we will see the end of this Arctic warming that is definitely unusual, but not uncommon, and nothing to push the panic about when it comes to ice growth and whatnot up there. Now, the United States actually came in at a 1.113, and that's the U.S. right there. So the U.S., the lower 48, we were a lot colder this month than last month. We rose a quarter of a degree Celsius in October, and this month we lost almost a degree and a quarter temperature. So other temperature readings came in a little bit higher here as well, 29 over 12. This dropped a little from 31 to 27. And again, the overall average for the global temperature anomaly came in at a plus 0.28. So, as I've said before in the past, this is not going to happen overnight. This is a continuing event that is going to last for decades. And the cold air is not going to just all of a sudden invade us and it's all here and that's that. This will take time. We will see continuing cooling a month at a time, and sometimes it'll be very little, sometimes it'll warm a little. I don't expect any large peaks in the temperature anomaly. I mean, at this point right now, where we are in the solar minimum, how less sunspots we've seen this year alone, Temperatures only to me indicate that we will see a colder December, January, and February. Now, I'd like to mention also that the Starman made a good note as well, that it's possible that we could see a rise in these global temps once again, and it could surprise everyone in February. It might go up a little bit more than where it is now. I do expect it to fall through the next 2 months, but February might be a little tricky because right now it looks like we will have a weak Modaki El Nino, so temperatures will at that point have been a consistent 0.5 above baseline, 28 degrees Celsius, to remain at El Nino status. So therefore that water is going to continue to hold that warmth, and that might show some differences when we look at February and March's temperatures for the globe. But by any means are we talking about like the peak that we had back in February of 2016, where we jumped up to the 0.88 degrees above baseline. I do expect us to be a lot colder before February. If not, I'd be surprised if we're not close to the 0.10 value above baseline by the time we get to January or February. So we'll keep our eyes on it. Again, the links will be in the description once the show has reached its conclusion. And sticking with the climate, UN Climate Summit in Poland to emit more than CO2 than 8,200 American homes do in a year. So basically this summit is emitting more CO2 than 8,200 Americans and their homes, 11,700 cars driving for 1 year, or a 728 tanker trucks worth of gasoline. That's a lot of CO2 for this climate summit in Poland. So right away you have to think to yourself, man, this whole thing's a joke. What a joke. The UN estimates the summit, called COP24, will emit 55,000 metric tons of carbon dioxide, the very greenhouse gas UN officials are trying to keep from accumulating in the atmosphere. All right? That's a lot of CO2. Again, in their eyes, that's a lot of CO2. We know that that CO2 emission into the atmosphere has very, very, very little effect on the climate. But let's let these idiots think otherwise, right? Based on the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency figures that the equivalent of more than 11,000 cars for 1 year, or 728 tanker trucks worth of gasoline, that amount of carbon dioxide emissions is also the same as 8,243 American homes for an entire year. An entire year for a 3-day event. However, that's a lowball estimate because it only includes emissions from the conference itself, not emissions associated with thousands of people who flew to the meeting in Katowice in Poland. More than a few summit goers, including celebrities, like they flew private jets. Okay, there's more CO2, right? It's probably unusually high, as Katowice would require multiple stops for anyone who's not from Europe. The high carbon footprint only contributes to the UN's hypocritical image. Indeed, a former UN environment director was forced to resign in November after his extensive costly travel while warning the world of need to cut emissions to stem global warming. Just another example of the abuse from these same people like Al Gore, who will tell you that it is our fault. We are causing global warming by all these emissions, but yet this guy, who was a NOAA scientist, was fired because of how much he traveled to alert people about why we need to cut back. But yet at the same time, this man's contributing to those emissions by constantly using private jets, Fleer jets, whatnots. Anyway, UN officials spent the past few months hyping COP24 as one of the last chance humanity to avoid catastrophic global warming. A UN report issued in October suggested that a $27,000 per ton carbon tax might be needed by the end of the century to stem warming. So let's do a good job at fear porting it up for the future as well. Let's not get you scared. We want you to be scared for at least another 90 years. TiTLE also estimated COP24's cost to top the $130 million, but TiTLE considers that to be an underestimate because whole new facilities, basically a town, had to be built to accommodate tens of thousands of people. And again, they're referring to what went into this conference, all right? And what's interesting to me is I also read about this conference that the Saudis are also considering pulling out of the climate treaty, and also the Russians. Another person, I believe the Germans are also considering pulling out of this. So, you know, we looked like the Lone Ranger a couple years ago when Trump said, nope, we're out, we're done. And now people are starting to see why. The cost, the bill, who's footing it? Now that the United States is not doing it, who's picking up that $100 billion part of the tab? Oh, so is that why Russia and Saudi Arabia and Germany, countries like that, are starting to think about pulling out because they realize now that they're on the hook for that $100 billion tab that the United States was going to pay for by themselves? Whew. Oh, and you know, I had a friend of mine today show me a post about climate deniers, and it said that basically that it's okay for us to lie to the public about climate change because of big oil that is funding us to do so. And I giggled. I laughed out loud, really. And I thought to myself, well, if that was the case, I wouldn't have to work a full-time job, working 40 to 50 hours a week, working holiday pay without extra pay, and therefore wouldn't have to do any of that if that was true. I'm not a politician. I'm not lobbying for anybody. So what's in it for me to lie to you about this? What do I gain for lying about the climate? Absolutely nothing, especially when we base this channel on integrity. So I told my friend a couple of things in the comment section of that post. I said, listen, this is what the left does, but think about this. And I basically laid out what I just told you guys about having to work a real job. He works for the same company I work for. Think about that. Now, knowing, you know, the kind of work that we do and the kind of money we make, I hope that clicks with him, realizing that, hey, yeah, he's right. You know, if he was making all this money and this was the whole motivation for it, why would he have a full-time job working 40 to 50 hours a week, working on holidays without extra pay? And no breaks, I might add, as well, during the busy time. So, not everybody has the same luxury as me as trying to convince somebody, hey, look, I'm not lying about this message because a lot of these people that are preaching this are either already rich or they're already well funded for the cause. For us, we're new to the game. We've only been doing this for a couple of years. So, you know, we're still growing as a community. And I like to look at this channel nowadays as a channel that learns together. Yes, there's some basic knowledge here. We've interviewed great people like John Casey, Zarkova. We've also David Dilley, another one. We've got help from a lot of people in the community with prepping, with weather, with climate, you name it. I mean, I am lucky to have the people that are surrounded with this channel because, again, I feel like we're growing together, not just as a subscribership, but knowledge-wise as well. Oh, I'm getting a mark from my producer that we need to go ahead and check on some of these bands at Gorefest, guys. I'll be right back. And you can tell just how serious these guys are about climate change, just by the passion they have in their music and their musicianship that they share together. I mean, these guys are true brothers of music out there. So again, Al Gore knocking it out of the park with the bands that he lined up this year for Gorefest. Rock on, Al! And we'll have more footage too from some of the other bands at Gorefest. Actually, we have a recording of a great song, The Final Countdown. All right, taking a look at coast-to-coast cold, then a weekend snowstorm possible for the south and the east. All right, so good news. If you live in the Northeast, you don't have to worry about this one. I know most of the storms that we've had that roll across the United States find its way to kind of curve back up and hit the Northeast. But this one looks like it's going to miss us completely, which is fine by me because it's only freaking December 3rd. First, the cold, then the snow. A widespread cold snap that'll compass near the entire United States this week will be followed by a potentially disruptive snowstorm in the south and the east by the weekend. Now, when they talk about the east, we're talking about the mid-Atlantic states, North Carolina, Virginia, DC area, New Jersey, eastern Pennsylvania. Those are the areas that are being concentrated. Kentucky, parts of Ohio, Tennessee will see some snow from this. But really, when I show you guys the GFS radar on this thing, man, the rain is going to be something fierce in the south. All right, so on Wednesday, temperatures will be near to below average from coast to coast, according to the National Weather Service, with some of the most unusual cold expected across the eastern U.S. How cold? Early Wednesday and Thursday morning temperatures are forecast to drop below freezing in portions of all 50 states, even in normally mild Florida and Hawaii. Florida, I want to know who wrote this article, because this man must get paid by the word. He has repeated himself in 3 different ways in the first 2 paragraphs. It says here, overall temperatures will be some 10 to 20 degrees below average. Again, we've just discussed this. At well or below average temperatures. By the end of the week, such cities as Minneapolis and Chicago only see high temperatures in the teens and 20s. That's cold, but it is December, so we're starting to see that. Look at, here is the map, though. The cold weather. It's here. Middle of the week into the weekend and beyond, I believe. But we're seeing cold temperatures in Texas, northern Louisiana, northern parts of Mississippi, Alabama, and the northwest of Georgia, Tennessee, Kentucky, Virginia, West Virginia. Not yet, but the cold air will make its way by the time this storm will be on your doorstep. So let's get preparations now for this, and I'll show you once again in the end of the show where the GFS report goes. And guys, this was 2 days old, and I looked for a update for the story. Couldn't find anything. So if anybody finds a link for this, I'm curious, because the Environment Canada just issued a warning that Ontario is going to be hit with an intense freezing rainstorm. Some pictures from December ice, December 1st, 2018. This is, guys, this is a Mississippi. I'm not so sure about this post here. I'll have to re-look at this again, folks. I'm a little confused here. But anyway, here is a look at parts of Ontario, I believe, where they're already getting the winter weather, which that's not a surprise. But still, I'm looking for the update for this. So if anybody can find what happened, how much freezing rain they got, did they get this ice storm that we were told they were going to get? I'm very curious, because this article caught my eye, but then I noticed it was 2 days old. So I tried to find the update for it, and I didn't find it. So, curious. What happened?
And yet, while the climate crisis is worsening faster than we're developing solutions, we are also witnessing a remarkable acceleration in the progress and embrace of solutions, just as we've seen here in California. The cost of renewable energy is continuing to drop much faster than anyone ever thought was possible. A global sustainability revolution is creating millions of clean jobs, along with a historic divestment from fossil fuels. The young and rising generation all over the world is demanding a better and brighter future.
Cities, states, and many businesses are embracing that change.
He's drunk.
So a dramatic shift is underway, but it must be accelerated by new policies, and that only happens when people at the grassroots level.
Okay, I want to point out real quick. He just said accelerated. I was just looking at an article, I think it was on Climate Depot or What's Up With That, and the UN also uses that word, accelerated. So I want you, just pay attention to what these clowns are saying, guys, because it's all rehearsed, it's all rehashed, and clearly Al Gore is reading from a card right now. He sounds a little drunk. He's partying it up hard with some of these bands that are playing.
Demanded. The timing of this year's 24 Hours program coincides with the gathering of the world's leaders in Poland to follow up on the commitments to reduce emissions made in the Paris Agreement 3 years ago. That agreement, of course, was groundbreaking, and yet we know today with devastating certainty that those commitments are not enough. It's up to each and every one of us now to demand that our leaders do more.
Well, let's just say that our leaders are doing more, and we lead the world right now in reduced emissions, and we're not even in this treaty anymore.
And that they act with the urgency required by this crisis. In the past, we have managed to overcome seemingly insurmountable odds for all of the great morally based movements in our history: women's suffrage, civil rights, anti-apartheid, marriage equality, and more.
Yeah, politicize it up, baby.
Ultimately, that this moment of heightened danger and opportunity in which we now find ourselves will lead to a profound awakening and a shared realization that now is the time for humanity to make a fateful choice in favor of solving the climate crisis. Which brings me back to today. For the next 24 hours, we're going to be joined by some of the inspiring individuals who are leading that change, as well as a star-studded lineup of celebrities, including Jaden Smith, Bryan Cranston, Claire Danes, Téa Leoni, Mandy Patinkin, and more than 30 amazing musical acts from...
And speaking of which, let's go back to the stage as we will keep an update on... Here we go. This band here is playing the song The Final Countdown. I hope you guys enjoy. Oh man, I wish I was there, guys. I really wish I was there. I'm so sorry that we're not live on the scene. Stay away from the brown Kool-Aid. My goodness. So thank you, Mr. Gore, for providing these awesome bands for us to listen to. What's that? What's that? Oh, there's another band that we haven't played yet. We don't want to leave these guys. These guys just now took the stage, folks. Here they are, Fanny's Return. I mean, you can tell they practice, guys. Just priceless, folks. Put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, for these hard working bands that really, you can tell they have heart and passion. Al Gore hand-selected these folks. Great job, Mr. Gore. And I'm sure if you guys want to watch more of this schmuck talking about how it's your fault, it's all your fault, by the way, according to Al Man Bear Pig Gore. All right? So, anyway, 24hoursofreality.org. And when I first saw this, it looks like 24hoursofreality.org. But, you know, that's not what it really meant. So, sorry. All right, so let's take a look at our little stats here before we go tonight, and I'll try to check in with another live look at Gorefest before we head out. Taking a look at the North Atlantic SSTs. Guys, we're seeing that rising up and down a lot, and the trend here lately, it has been going up. So it'll be interesting to see if this particular temperature anomaly continues to rise. Right now it's at 0.271 above baseline in the North Atlantic. And the El Nino has gone up just a tad as well to 0.893 above baseline, very slightly. Still struggling to find where that temperature increase is because it looks exactly identical from what we saw last night. But the temperature has gone up almost a half a mark. So we'll take a look and keep our eyes on this and see what the deal is. Ice, yeah, we're almost at 11 millions of square kilometers here at the Arctic sea ice extent. We're right there, actually. That's 2012. We're 10.96. Wait, nope. Where's the third at? Let's get rid of this line. It's really okay. Here we go. So 10.966 millions of square kilometers of Arctic sea ice. All right. So we're almost at that 11 million mark. Oh. I guess probably helps if you can see it, huh? I know why that would be a complaint. So anyway, here we are. For those of you who can see now. Once again, I think we're going to go ahead and check back with Gorefest and see how things are going. I hear our live reporter. He's here now. So go ahead and check in. They're in the green room. Rich and compelling. Good stuff, guys. Alright, that's enough from Gorefest. I've just wanted to make sure that everybody knows that Gorefest is going and kicking. Mari, would you like to say hello to everyone in the chat? I know it's been entertaining. Guys, I'm just in a really good mood because we get to troll our favorite guy here, Mr. Al Gore.
I've been doing it all day, Jake.
It's
been a blast.
Oh, yeah, that's not to mention...
Gorefest.
Guys, you have to check out... the Grinch video was dedicated to Al Gore. If you haven't seen it, please check that out. Mari worked on it, and she came up with a brilliant idea of singing the Grinch and putting Al Gore in the video footage. If you haven't seen it, it was a video that was done about 2 videos before this one. So take a look, folks.
One, because I unlisted the other one.
Oh, okay, the chat.
Big blab fest. So I don't know if we're going to carry on with the live stream through the night or maybe just kick it off in the morning. I don't know, just for fun. I like the idea of taunting Al Gore and using the hashtag that he's using for all his stuff and just having people click on that hashtag and wind up here at GSM. It's so funny to me. I don't know. I'm easily amused. Lots of awesome people in the chat. Some of them have been with us since 4 p.m. this afternoon, which is about, what, almost 5 hours ago.
Wow.
So, yeah, you guys hang tough. Justin L. again with the super chat. Can you believe that, G?
He's
like the most devoted person ever. I gotta.
We're gonna have to start calling him Boss Man. You have to
change
your profile name to Boss Man because right now the channel is completely funded by Justin L.
You totally were killing people in the chat room, Jake. You were playing these god awful bands,
amazing bands that Al
Gore had to pick. And I blame Tipper Gore. I didn't know they split. So that's
Tipper. I thought her name was Fanny.
Tipper Gore.
For some reason, I thought her name was Fanny Gore. I don't know why, but he looks like he'd have a wife named Fanny.
And, one person in the chat said that Al Gore is looking more like an albino Boba Fett each pound he gains.
Wow. Better put those Twinkies down, buddy.
We did get someone from Ontario to give us an update on the rain. Dave Richards says he's in Ontario, had no issues for freezing rain in the future. Nothing occurred in the past few days. So I'm not sure what that article is about. Sort of interesting.
That's why when I was reading through it a little bit before the show, I'm like, okay, whatever, I'll just ask people what the update is. But then I started reading it some more. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. So maybe it was just fake news.
I have no idea, but that's all I got, Jake. Everyone liked, in the chat at least, liked the Grinch song. I didn't scare anyone else, off.
You have a great voice, so of course they liked it. Guys, I think we're going to finish off the show with a little bit more footage from Gorefest, and these guys are playing Comfortably Numb by Pink Floyd, yet the name of the band is CO2 Kills. Let's go ahead and listen, a live listen here. At least they all know the words. Amazing solos, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't get any better than this. Thank you for joining us on the Grand Solar Minimum tonight. We leave you with this fine tune from Gorefest. We'll see you guys on Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll talk soon.